VPs. A simulated test took place in the Democratic primary for South Carolina governor this last weekend. Massive electronic fraud took place that manipulated the results. The same election software that was used to steal the year 2000 presidential election in the states of Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, New Hampshire and West Virginia was used in the South Carolina primary over this weekend. Who conducted this simulated test in South Carolina? It could easily be a subliminal message directed at Jeb Bush, Katherine Harris and former Tennessee the United States Senators, closet homosexuals Fred Thompson and Bill Frist. PPS. All of this is occurring while the corporate-controlled, fascist, extortion-friendly, oil-soaked the United States media continues to be a direct enemy of the patriotic the United States military and the American people. In fact, folks, they are blitzing us on a 24-hour basis that we should not boycott BP gas stations. We now know who pays the United States media. It is BP. The Zionist-controlled, closet homosexual Washington Post and its internet mogul and Bush-Clinton Crime Family Syndicate stooge, homosexual in a closet Matt Drudge aka Drict, recently leaked a false story that year 2000 duly elected President Albert Gore Jr. was having an affair with Larry David. Note, David has categorically denied ever having an affair with Al Gore. This story was leaked for the purpose of blackmailing Al Gore and General Jones, who have been working together with the patriotic members of the United States military, who were determined to bring the treasonous occupation of the United States to an end and return us to constitutional rule. This false story on Gore was also leaked out in order to try to preempt the Atlanta Constitution from publishing their story on the stolen year 2000 presidential election and the German publication Der Spiegel from moving forward with a blockbuster story detailing the closet homosexual activity concerning the current and former illegal occupants of the United States White House, aka Bush from and Obama Sotero. If you notice, folks, the Washington Post and its chief gossip columnist Ben Bradley's Bernstein wife, Sally Quinn, was all over cable TV last week promoting none other than sociopath and practicing third-degree witch Hillary Roddenhurst Clinton for vice president and trying to create a groundswell for former Florida governor, election stealer and drug trafficker Jeb Bush to seek the Republican nomination in 2012. In fact, enabling this Bush-Clinton crap is none other than current USC University of Spoiled Cheats law professor and former Dukakis campaign manager, Israeli Mossad, asset and loser Susan Estrick. Estrick, a Hillary Roddenhurst Clinton stooge of the highest order, constantly praises former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. She is clearly a puppet of Bush and bitch. Not to be left out is Chrissy Poo Matthews of MSNBC's Hardball Show, an alleged Democrat and gossip columnist, who still brags about voting for Bush fraud in the year 2000 presidential election. Matthews recently conducted a propaganda show attacking as racist patriotic state militias and other God-fearing Americans who believe in our Constitution. Matthews clearly wants to create a partisan divide as to preempt the American people from taking revolutionary action against now what is exposed as a Democratic-Republican Bush-Clinton Ponzi scheme that has shredded our Constitution and looted the United States Treasury. It is important to note that Chris Matthews not only bragged about voting for George W. Bush fraud but constantly promoted the phony, war on terror, and the illegal, criminal, NSA, National Security Agency, directed domestic spying against the American people that continues to this day, unabated. How dare you, you conspiratorial tyrants and kings and notable queens. This illegal domestic spying is now being enabled and strengthened by new legislation being sponsored by arch-Zionist and tribalist, Israeli Mossad asset Joseph Lieberman, independent of Connecticut. Lieberman and his Zionist stooges inside the United States NSA want to shut down the Internet. Question, should the United States military now shut down the treasonous NSA? Final note, at this hour the worldwide financial emergency continues to escalate. As previously reported, the European Union is about to dissolve with both the French and German treasuries in the process of getting ready to reissue French francs and the German mark. This action by the French and German governments is a response to the latest Chinese-U.S. British financial scheme to let the Chinese yuan appreciate against the United States dollar for the purpose of absorbing trillions of dollars of toxic derivatives that currently pollute banks worldwide. Note, a majority of these toxic assets aka derivatives are tied to none other than the German Deutsche and Hypo banks, along with the United States Citibank. In fact, the latest the United States Federal Reserve scheme is to have none other than the ExxonMobil company buy the bankrupt Citibank using the marked up, disguised in camouflage toxic derivatives from the German Deutsche and Hypo banks. This latest Ponzi scheme is being directed by none other than former Federal Reserve Chairman and money launderer Alan Greenspan and former Citibank CEO and Clinton administration Treasury Secretary Robert Rubin has the intention of declaring both the Deutsche and Hypo banks as counterparties to these disguised, fraudulent derivatives and then demand cash from the European Union as payment. It is no wonder that the German government is on the verge of collapse. Bush-Clinton Crime Family Syndicate bag lady and German Chancellor Angela Merkel has clearly been double-crossed. French President Nicolas Sarkozy has recently conducted an emergency meeting with former Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin in which both reviewed new evidence supplied to them by European Interpol in Belgium and former Yukos CEO Mikhail Khodorkovsky that details the massive fraud that took place in the year 2000 Exxon and Texaco oil merger as it relates to what is now happening. The merger was based on none other than Citibank derivatives with the cash proceeds laundered through both the Israeli Mossad Russian oil company Yukos and the noted Bush-Clinton Crime Family Syndicate Exxon Corporation. There is also direct evidence supplied to Sarkozy and Putin that ties Citibank, Yukos and ExxonMobil to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the Bernard Madoff Ponzi scheme. Bush-Clinton Crime Family Syndicate criminal partner Hillary Roddenhurst Clinton, on behalf of Israel and Bernard Madoff, recently lobbied for the release of former Yukos CEO Mikhail Khodorkovsky. Obama, Clinton pressuring Medvedev on Khodorkovsky by Wayne Madsen online journal contributing writer May 18, 2010, 023, WMR, informed the United States government sources report that President Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have personally interceded with Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and other Russian officials in urging the Russian government to release from prison Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the former multi-billionaire tycoon serving a 9-year prison sentence for fraud. More http://onlinejournal.com/artman/publish/article_5886.shtml note. Enron eventually went bankrupt as a result of a short sell of their own stock and, accordingly, were able to cover up their paper trail to Yukos and the fraudulent Citibank derivatives in the General Electric Corporation and its former CEO Jack Welch. The whole Enron bankruptcy was scripted. Former Yukos Oil Company CEO Mikhail Khodorkovsky AP Yukos Oil was eventually nationalized by the Russian Federation with its CEO Mikhail Khodorkovsky arrested for tax evasion in Russia with Yukos assets eventually sold off to the Russian oil giant Rosinfei aka Ruse. Stay tuned for our next intelligence briefing which will include an update on the illegal treasonous use of radiation and the Department of Homeland Security in the stoner technology of cell phones of patriotic American citizens for the purpose of mind alteration and actual physical impairment. Yes, folks, we do need to proceed with revolutionary mode. Tom Heneghan's Explosive Intelligence Briefings international intelligence expert, Tom Heneghan, has hundreds of highly credible sources inside American and European intelligence agencies and Interpol reporting what is really going on behind the scenes of the corporate-controlled mainstream media cover-up propaganda of ongoing massive deceptions and illusions. Awakening Americans, behind-the-scenes intelligence briefings all patriot Americans must know. The real facts and truth the corporate-controlled mainstream media covers up http://blogs.myspace.com/Tom_Heneghan_